Y'all ready? Time for bylaws, baby. So we have 4. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's 2:51. All right. So we're about to do the change to principles and purposes. I just want to say this before we do the motion. As this proposed bylaw change received over a 4/5 vote at last year's General Assembly, no amendments to this proposed change are allowed this year. And so it was submitted from over 15 certified congregations in 2017. Final adoption shall require a 2/3 vote at this General Assembly. I recognize the people at the procedure mic.
Hi, my name is Jamie Andel, and I am a delegate member and affiliate minister of First Unitarian Church of Toledo, from Toledo, Ohio, where I serve the community as a hospice chaplain, and I'm responsible for this change update. Removing women and men and updating that language to prophetic people allows for the inclusion of all persons of all gender identities and expressions. Our polity is such that we are able to shine the spotlight on our own covenant. The strength of our living tradition means we are part of a covenant in which revelation is always being revealed. We're at that moment right now. I want to thank my mentor, Reverend Dr. Susan Ritchie, my church, First Unitarian Church of Toledo, the 16 churches that submitted paperwork so that we could get to this point, the folks who voted last year to pass this through preliminary vote, and all that have helped. And by strengthening the voice of the marginalized among us, working together, we're able to do the larger work in the world.
So will you please make the motion?
Hang on one second. Sorry, I have a little bit of anxiety. I would like to make the motion that we change the wording from women and men to people.
Thank you. Can I have a second? All righty. The motion's on the floor.
Okay, so before we vote.
Chairs are dangerous, y'all.
Yeah. Before we vote, we'd like you to have an opportunity to reflect a little bit. Some of you were not at General Assembly last year, and so this may be a new concept for you. So please turn to the people sitting around you. Try to talk to somebody you don't already know, and consider these questions. In what ways does this proposed change improve the language of our second source? What concerns do you have about the proposed change? And overall, how are you feeling about this proposed amendment to our bylaws, and specifically one of the sources of our living tradition? And you have 3 minutes. 30 seconds.
All right, we are ready to come back to a discussion of our and concerns for this particular bylaw amendment. Before we move on, I'd like to announce the vote of the proposed congregational study action issues with 1,100 or 1,101 votes to 108 votes. We will be studying number 1. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
My name is Melissa Jeter. I have been a member of First Unitarian Church of Toledo for 20 years. I am one of the commissioned lay minister candidates leading this church. This change to all persons reflects that we can indeed be a bold people. Bold people can be prophetic. Bold people are in mutual relationships with each other. Bold people radically care for each other. And bold people listen and show up for justice when someone is hurting my sibling.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the concern mic.
My name is Dale Hanning. I am about a 64-and-a-half-year member of the Wilmer Unitarian Universalist congregation in Minnesota. And I am for inclusive language, and I think with gratitude of the work of Drusilla Cummins, now long deceased, but who led for the effort to bring inclusive language, the word women, into our literature, our bylaws. And I wish that the language could include the prophetic words of women and men and all people whose wisdom inspires us, you know. And I don't think we're moving forward if we remove the specific language recognizing women's contributions. I feel very strongly about that. I think I understand the pain of exclusion. I don't know how many decades I heard that mankind included women. It was great relief to start to see women included, and I would like to not lose that.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Hello, I'm David Strickler from the First Unitarian Church of Toledo, Ohio. As a Unitarian Universalist, I affirm and support the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and I think our second source needs to use that language to affirm the inherent worth and dignity of all people, regardless of race or gender or sexual identity. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the concern mic.
Thank you. I'm Lorella Hess, the Conejo Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I was a delegate at the General Assembly in 1984 when we passed the Principles and Purposes. At that time, I was completely oblivious to gender non-binary issues. I have learned since then. I thank the people who have helped me learn. My concern about this change arises from something I learned at that GA in '84. When we passed the Principles and Purposes, we attempted to read them in unison. From the completely unscientific survey, the people standing around me, about 2/3 said men and women rather than women and men. And I thought, wow, a group of Unitarian Universalists cannot say women and men when they are reading it. That's a problem. I'd like to refer you to page 67 of the program guide for this General Assembly, in which on this agenda it notes that we are now voting, changing men and women to people. Somebody wrote that. I don't know how many levels of proofreading it went through to get there, but that's my concern.
Thank you for sharing your concern. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
My name is Brenna Kaler. I am from the Smooch congregation. This is written by my friend Icarus. When I started using they, them pronouns, I was scared to tell people it was always just he/her. I currently use he, they, and Icarus, but I'm still scared to tell them. I didn't know very many non-binary people. I even felt like I was going to be judged by those people. I was told that I was invalid by someone, so I went back to the closet. I finally came back out again, and I felt free. Now I can feel like I can tell people. So that's a pro from one of my friends.
Thank you. There's no one at the concern mic. I have no one in the off-site queue, which tells me you are ready to vote. So that you remember, we are not able to amend this. Final passage requires a 2/3 majority vote. I have a little tablet that tells me when the off-site delegates are voting. It takes them more time to see the live stream, so it will take a little bit more time for us to know what the final vote is. Make sense to everyone? Fantastic. Okay, we are ready to vote. All those in favor of changing the language of women and men to people, please indicate by raising your yellow delegate voting cards now. All those opposed? You can put your cards down. We'll wait for the offsite. Let's see the offsite vote. The motion clearly passes.